Welcome to another episode of Brand Lincoln, where we take a look around the Lincoln, Nebraska area and introduce you to business owners and influential people in the city. We are brought to you by Perch Merch. Perch Merch is a locally owned, custom screen printing and embroidery apparel shop that also specializes in vehicle wraps, decals, and all sorts of promotional products. If your business, school, or team is looking to expand your brand, head to perch-merch.com or call us at 402-217-5212.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Brand Lincoln. I am your host, Chris Beecham, joined by my co-host, Henry Schmidt.
Hi, Chris.
And producer, Joe Cruz.
Hello, Chris.
They're sharing a microphone today, so this will be
Our
interesting.
faces are very close to each other. I could feel the whiskers off his beard.
Okay, so moving on. Before we introduce our guest, please like, subscribe on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. You can also follow us on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram at Brand Lincoln Podcast. So today in the Perch Merch studio, we have Blake and Kathy Collingsworth of Josh the Otter. Hi, guys.
Hey.
Thank you for having us.
You're our first two-person guest, which is kind of nice. Okay, so in the group chat, told them you guys were coming on, and Joe said, "Am I going to cry?" And I said, well, the beginning's going to be a little rough. But good comes out of it.
True.
Tell us the story of how Josh the Otter started.
It was a gorgeous June day, first part of June, actually June 1st. And we had not been in our new home very long. I'm a home builder by trade. And we dream of your lifetime to have a backyard pool, right? Mm-hmm. And you have all the friends come over. We live back into the golf course there in Wilderness Ridge, and it's a nice setting. She has a very large extended family, 6 brothers and sisters, and lots of nieces and nephews. So it's going to be the place where everybody want to come hang out. And one of the first seasons, I think we had the pool open, and a lot of people there that morning, and people coming and going. We're going to barbecue, and at that moment in time, it was just Kathy and Joshua and I in the pool area, and I had to go inside for something, and Kathy was with Joshua. But then a lot of people were coming over to start to barbecue, and they were going to do other things, and Kathy came inside with Joshua, and I was upstairs, and there were people coming in the front door, what I remember is I hear Kathy saying to me, "Have you seen Joshua?" And I was in my front office, and you go, and you kind of get a panic mode. It wasn't 10 seconds, 5 seconds later, I heard this scream come out of her. And so I started bolting out of the office, and I don't know why, I just started kind of going toward the back, where the last moment I had seen him, and started going down the stairs to get out back, and she was running me over. And my brother-in-law was right with us because he had just come through the front door with his daughter. And we ran out to the back, and I said, "Where is he? Where is he?" And she jumped in the water, and I saw him floating face down by the edge of the pool. And I was able to reach out and grab him, and my brother-in-law and I grabbed him, and we took him inside. My sister-in-law was right there. They're both medically trained, so they started CPR on him immediately. We're calling 911. We're trying to get them there. He aspirated and coughed up a bunch of water, and the first thing you think of, okay, he's going to start breathing. We're going to be okay here. He didn't.
How old was he?
2.5. And the paramedics showed up what seemed like forever. I think it was probably 12, 15 minutes. And Kathy rode with Joshua in the ambulance to the hospital. And I followed as quick as I could behind. And I remember walking into the hospital at Bryan West. And the look on, to this day, I think about the look on the EMT's faces that brought him in, that walked past me on my way in. And it didn't strike me at the moment, but the doctor came out and I said, what's going on? He said, "We haven't breathed him. His heart's beating. He's on a ventilator. We can do a lot more for him at Children's in Omaha, so we're going to bring in a 5-star life flight. We're going to helicopter him over to Omaha." Kathy said, "Can I fly with him?" And they said, "Only if you can compose yourself because you're a wreck." And she promised she would. And so she flew with Joshua on the helicopter, and I drove up to Omaha. So those aren't familiar, it's about a 45, 50-minute drive. And all I could think of the whole time was this was almost his exact 6-month birthday, because he was born November 30th. And I did the math. I said, well, we're going to have 2 birthdays every year for Joshua going forward. Mm-hmm. And we got up, and I went upstairs into the pediatric ICU, and I looked in, and Josh was all hooked up with tubes, and Kathy's curled up next to him in the bed. And the doctor came out, and I said, how is he doing, doctor? And he just goes, there's no hope. And I mean, it really, wow, that's a great way to introduce a father to a child, to his circumstance that's going on. And I said, how do you know? He goes, I've examined him. And I went, and so that's the last time I ever talked to that doctor. We met the chief of staff for the pediatric ICU and a few other doctors, a lot of neuro doctors, a lot of, and I said, I never want to talk to that doctor again. I said, he's a jerk.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Worst bedside manner I've ever. And the nurses were fantastic, and those doctors. And I said, is there no hope? And they said, there's always hope, right? So we were with him. That was a Sunday afternoon is when we got up there, and we went through so many different tests and brain scans and all the different things that you do. And by the time a couple of days went by, the doctors just kept coming in and said, this is about as far as he's going to come. He's on a feeding tube. He's on a ventilator. Someday he might be able to be okay without the ventilator, but he's never going to be able to feed him. There's just not enough brain activity. When a child loses oxygen for just a few minutes, it's life-changing for that child, because the oxygen deprivation to their brain is so severe. And the brain cells go away, and they don't regenerate. They don't come back like they should. So we had to make that decision. Do we keep him in this situation as long as we possibly can and see if he heals and see if he develops, or do we make the decision to take him off life support and see what happens? And we had probably 20, 30 family members up there at that hospital. Hospital was fabulous. That restriction of 2 people per room in a pediatric ICU didn't exist at Children's. We had everybody was there, full support, and the staff was fantastic. And we decided we would, Kathy said, I'll take care of him. We can do this indefinitely. Family and help and everything said this, that's not going to be a good life for him. It's not going to be a good life for anybody. So then actually we decided to call the organ transplant organization and said, he's here, let's see if we can help other kids before, the inevitable might happen. And Wednesday evening, they took him off life support, and we were all there with him, and it took about 30, 45 minutes before his respiratory started slowing, and his brain was damaged enough that it couldn't operate his organs basically without the machines doing it for him. And so he passed away in our arms about 30, 45 minutes after we took him off of life support. So that was, the worst 3 days of my life, I'm sure of hers, and I think a lot of our family members, of what we had to go through for that 3-day period. But we got home after that, and I looked at that damn pool, and I said, what in the world happened to us today? Why? We had a vinyl cover on that pool. We have fence. We have all this different stuff. And when he was with us out there, we were with him. We most of the time had him in a little life jacket jumpsuit. We'd started a couple swim lessons, but not a lot. And, so when he was out there, we were with him. And then we thought we had these precautions in place. But toddlers are so fast, and they're explorers, and they're, they want to go out and, do exciting things. And the other thing that I did is I looked in that pool. I pulled the cover back off because it got put on after we were all in the hospital, and I pulled the cover off, and my older son's water gun was there in the pool. And I know it wasn't there when we left that pool that day. So I think Joshua went out there, saw that water gun, tried to fill it, to play with it, because his older brother would never let him play with it when he was around.
Yeah.
Right? And fell in and did not have the skill set to help himself. If he fell in the water at 2.5, we hadn't gotten to that point yet. And so that's That's basically how I understand the whole circumstance happened that day, and he got out of our sight that quickly, and it happened so fast. You know, the one thing that we tell parents, if you lose sight of your child, if there's water anywhere, go there first, because it's so deadly and it happens so fast and they're attracted to it. Check the water first, and because it just happens so quickly, and you need to be there as quick as you possibly can.
Okay. Okay. So, what year is this?
2008.
Okay.
It's been 16 years this June. This last June was 16 years.
Got it. Okay, so after this happens, at what point do you two decide we need something good to come from this?
Well,
Tell us that
yeah,
whole...
we were very happy that with the organs that they were able to save, that he was able to save other children. So that gives you some comfort in that, you know, his loss wasn't 100% not helping other people. So we're very proud that we were able to make that decision and help other children. So, but the idea of the book and having something that fixes a problem, that's my husband. You know, he's the fixer, the builder. And so that's where he came up with the idea of the book.
I got online and I started looking around, and then when I discovered that the number one cause of death to children 1 to 4 in the United States is drowning, I got mad. And I got mad because I didn't know that. And I had to find out through this and then study it and go, the number one cause of death to children is 1 to 4, and how come I don't know that? And how come most people don't know that? And it's the second leading cause of death to all adolescents under the age of 14. And the fact that society doesn't have this information to where they can be a little bit more diligent or just think about it differently is beyond comprehension to me.
Yeah,
I
no
couldn't
idea.
understand that.
I did not know that stat.
No.
And it's actually now overcome birth defects. Just in the last year, birth defects were before it, because we're talking about death, but cause of fatality to children, it has now surpassed birth defects, because medically we're getting better at what we're doing with children in the womb and et cetera, but we're still losing. Number one cause of death to children 1 to 4 is drowning. And it's infuriating that we're not doing more as a society. You know, we're talking about gun safety and bicycle helmets and seatbelt safety and child safety caps and cabinet safety locks on your cabinet drawers and your medicine cabinet. Yeah. All these different things that we talk about.
Which are all important.
And they all are important, but we're not talking about the number one cause. And so then when I started looking, I said, okay, I looked at our situation specifically, and the two things that we could have done to positively affect Joshua's situation was just to have a basic conversation. Josh, if you ever think about going out by the water, you always get mom and dad to go with you, or grandma and grandpa, or somebody else. Water's fun. That's why we got this pool. We want to do it as a family thing, but it's not something you go do by yourself. Well, how do you convince a child to have? Does that work when you just say that? Well, it should. You're an adult. Do kids disobey? Yeah. And so that's one of the big discussions. Well, kids are going to disobey if they want to. And I said, well, we should create a character, because I remember how much both my sons, they like, Dora the Explorer and Barney the Dinosaur and all those different things. I said, we need a character that will spark their interest, that will engage them, that they will look up to. And I got online, I was looking around, and sure enough, otters are born in a den. Their mothers drag them into the water to teach them how to swim. And they lock arms and they float on the water together. All kids love otters. You go to the zoos and they're watching them in the exhibits and they're swimming and kids are laughing. And I said, this is the character. I mean, it's not a fish that already swims or another, animal that already swims. It's taught to swim by its mother like we should be doing. And so I said, let's do this and write a book. And so we had to take a flight 2 months later, and I was on my iPod back in the day. And I just...
Henry will show you what one of those.
We'll show
Chris, I know what an iPod is.
It's an old dinosaur thing.
Jeez.
And I just started...
I remember having to download MP3s, Chris.
Whoa.
I
Were
did
you
have to
two?
do that.
So I started henpecking on this iPod and started writing the book, Josh the Baby Otter. And, it starts out, it's a beautiful sunny day, and there's a new baby otter named Josh, and his mother Claire is teaching him how to swim, and it goes through that whole process, and a younger otter, an older otter comes up and starts talking to Claire, Josh's mom, which happens to be Kathy's middle name. And Alex, the little other otter, was one of Josh's cousins. And they start talking, and he says, "Can you play with me?" And she goes, "Not yet, because he hasn't learned how to swim yet. I'm teaching him to float first. And once he becomes a good floater on his back, then I'll teach him how to swim. And then you guys can swim together, and you always swim with a buddy." So it's just that basic conversation of getting kids to understand it's not something I do by myself, and Josh the Otter's, he's my example, and that's what I've learned to be. Get one child to understand that, and you save their life, it's good by me.
Yeah, I guarantee you guys have saved a lot of lives. I did not know. I know of the book. I know of your foundation. I did not know you actually wrote the book. Mm-hmm. That's kind of neat.
Yeah.
I mean, you were on a mission, and your mission is still going, which is awesome. So how do you just start publishing the book? How do you get this out to people? What was your plan there?
Well, that was I walked over to Barnes and Noble and I talked to them, and how are we going to do this? And I was fortunate enough. I'm in the construction industry. That's where I've been my whole life, and I actually published a construction directory for about 4 or 5 years. So I knew a little bit about how to print something and get it produced. But Kathy's dad has a really good friend that owned a printing company here in Lincoln. It was Boomers back in the day. Mm-hmm. And Harold, I went in there and talked to him. He said, "Yeah, we'll help you out. We'll do whatever we need to do." So we printed 1,000 staple-bound promotional copies.
Uh-huh.
And we said, "Okay, we got these. What are we going to do?" Went to Barnes and Noble. We can't use that. It's staple-bound. It's got to have a
it's got to be fancy.
You got to be able to stick it in the slot in the bookshelf and be able to read it on the side. So it has to be perfect bound. You got to print on the perfect binding, different things. And so then the other thing in my research of trying to figure out, okay, how do we get this out? I got online and I found an organization called the National Drowning Prevention Alliance, and the NDPA, and you could sign up and be a member for nothing, and they were having a conference in Miami April of 2009, and I looked at Kathy and I said, "We're going, and we're going to take them these books, and we're going to tell them we got something we think can make a big difference in the problem." And we weren't even a year out, and Kathy's like, I don't know if I can go to a drowning prevention conference and have a normal conversation with people. And I said, "Well, if you don't want to go, I'll go myself, but I'm going." And she goes, "No, we'll go." And we took the young lady that illustrates all of our stuff for us, Ashley Spitznagel. We took her with us down there, and we took the few copies with us. And we were in Miami. We walk in the hotel lobby, and we're just totally lost. They had a little breakfast in the morning for family members that were attending the conference that might have lost a loved one in a drowning, and there was 8 of us in the room. And so, but before that breakfast, we're sitting in the hotel lobby having a wine, and this stately gentleman walks up, and he knows good-looking women when he sees them. My wife is one, and Ashley's the other. And he walked right by me and introduced himself. But he said, "I'm a retired Rear Admiral, and I'm here to speak at the conference. I just retired from the Coast Guard. I've spent my whole life on the water and saving people and keeping them safe." And he goes, "That's why I'm here." And I told him my idea. I said, "I've written a children's book. I don't think we're doing a good enough job of starting from scratch to have this conversation with children, like we do with seatbelts. Once you're in a seatbelt as a child, it kind of becomes second nature." So my thought process is, we need to do with water safety like we're doing with all the other dangers. Don't talk to strangers. Look both ways before you cross the street. Don't touch that stove. It's hot. All the things that we try to drive into our children's thought process. Water safety needs to be one of them. So I said, I wrote this book, and he looks at me and he goes, "You're spot on." And I don't know, he didn't say immediately, but a little while later he goes, "I'm an incoming Rotary president for my club north of here in Merritt Island, Florida. There's 16 of us in that club." But he goes, "We give dictionaries to the 4th graders in Merritt Island every year, and we've been doing it for years. And he goes, but there's too many children in our area that don't get that dictionary because they die from drowning before they even get to 4th grade. He goes, I'm going to buy your books, I'm going to take them into the classrooms, and I'm going to read to the kindergarten students, and I'm going to distribute them, and we're going to talk to all the things water safety about them. We're going to start this conversation right away. And it was that he went back, and 2010 was his incoming president year. He bought 400 or 500 copies of the books. He distributed them to the 3 or 4 schools they go to. The kids loved it. We had made a mascot suit, so we loaned it to them, and they had the mascot suit running around with Josh and entertaining the kids, and they said the teachers loved it. They said that's all the kids talked about for weeks afterwards was meeting Josh the Otter and what they heard. So he told all the presidents around his club and other clubs just nearby, and they all started the next year. All of a sudden it was 1,200 copies. And then he had a district governor. If you're familiar with the basis of Rotary, you have club presidents and you have districts, and then you have, so that's how it expands and grows. And he told his district governor about it, and so he sponsored us to go to Rotary International in New Orleans that year. And we went there, and the amazing thing is once you start telling people this and they understand the problem, they jump right on board with you. And that's the beauty of it. So to this day now, we're well over 50,000 copies a year go out to Rotary clubs all over the United States and even in other countries.
That's a lot.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
We have it translated in 18 languages. 12 of them are currently on our app. We have a free downloadable app that's called Josh the Otter. So it's free, and it has the book read on it and the sing along, and it has a water safety quiz on there. So there's a lot of activities for people to, understand water safety in a fun way. And that's one of the things that we saw that was missing in drowning prevention, is there was fencing, there were laws, there were all these things that were put in place, and for the adults, and then having adult supervision, all these things, but we were losing the number one cause was 4 and under. So even when pediatricians opened up, swimming lessons from 4 years old to 12 months old, that was huge, because if children can crawl to water, they have the ability to drown. So it takes less than 30 seconds for a child to lose oxygen to their brains. So it's in less than a half an inch of water. So a dog bowl, water on the top of a pool cover, we've sadly seen that happen several times. Now it's hard to be in the industry where we now see this occurrence in drowning and how widespread it is. We've gone to conferences and spoke all over the United States, more him than me, because nobody wants to hear me cry. So, but, we've had people come up and they're, we don't have water. But you have a stream? Do you have a pond? Do you have a bucket? Do you have a toilet? Do you have a bathtub? We live in water. We have to have water to survive. And so these things are necessary for people to understand that horse troughs, it happens in detention cells.
Yeah, I'm a home builder developer by trade, and the amount of detention cells, now every 3-acre parcel that we develop, you have to put in a stormwater detention cell to collect stormwater and purify it before it runs downstream. But now we're creating all these bodies of water that fill up in any type of storm, and it's an attractive nuisance for children. So if they slide into that, and you can't fence those in.
No.
You can't fence in farm ponds. You can't fence in any of those types of things. So what skill set? First of all, we get them not to go buy it, because that's the first, and understand that it's something they don't do by themselves. But the other thing that I thought with Joshua was, okay, what was the other thing? Well, we didn't start him soon enough to learn to swim. Okay, is 2.5 too early? That's a question you have. Pediatricians at that point were saying 4 years old. And some of it has to do with ear infections. It has, different discussions. I think a lot of it was, well, they can't do the breaststroke or the butterfly or anything like that until they get to be 4 years old. So
I'm worried about the Olympics.
Yeah,
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're right. That's not the point. If they fall in the water, what do they do?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Joshua panicked, I'm sure, and took water in. And after that, it's downhill from that point on. But they're perfectly capable, if you give them the skill set, if they fall in the water, to not panic, hold their breath, and float and flip on their back, just like, guess what? An otter.
Yeah,
And
I've seen videos online of the toddlers that they're taking to teach them, and yeah, they do exactly what you're describing.
Yeah.
And it is terrifying to see that young of a child just being dropped into the water, but they know enough to flip around and get on top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's amazing is it doesn't take very long for them to learn that skill set. And we don't do it aggressively. I mean, some try to do it to where it's a fight or flight type of thing. We get them gently to do it when we work with them. And once we do that, it's a first step. Children crawl, then they walk. We believe they should back float, then swim. So once we get them to where they're comfortable back floating, they can even, kick or whatever to the side of the pool, or even just float there. They're getting air. Mm-hmm. In Joshua's situation, he was out of our sight for such a short period of time. If he would have had that skill set, we could have come out and he'd been floating on his back, waiting for us, or grab the side of the pool, hold onto it, and start crying. That's what we're talking about. It's literally moments with children like that. Mm-hmm. And so that was the other thing, is why aren't we getting kids in there? It's been done all over the country, mostly in California, Florida, Arizona. We had one instructor in the state of Nebraska at that time that was teaching that type of skill set. She was in Omaha. Mm-hmm. And so we said, well, we need more of this, obviously. And that was the other thing that we said. So if you're giving your child the two things that could save their life in this circumstance, it's still important for parents to be diligent, but don't we all want to give our children the skill set to take care of themselves? I like to tell people, do you really think you're going to be there the first time your child is offered their first cigarette or their first drink? You're not going to be there because they don't want you to be there, right? But what you instill in them in that thought process is, you really don't want to start going down that path, because if you do, it's a bad habit. You have that conversation because you want to have your kids healthy, right? Mm-hmm. And it's that same type of mindset. So what are we doing with the earliest thing, with the most deadly circumstance that happens to kids right now is number one cause. So how do we do that? And these are the two things: physically and mentally, get them in a position to where they can help themselves. And then hopefully the parents learn this statistic and start being as diligent as they possibly can be around water. I can't go to a body of water and see kids and not just, I'm just constantly scanning the water. It's not very fun for me from that standpoint, but I'm an extra lifeguard. I don't get paid for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the next phase, which is the float for life. So you're also doing that besides the book, educating did you write the song, by the way? Did you write the?
Yes, I co-wrote it.
Okay. Would you like to sing it?
I don't have to know where it even starts. No.
Learn to float.
She got it.
There, got it.
Yeah.
So how's that going? Because I know there's a lot going on with that as well, and that's come a long ways.
That's exponentially just blown up. And what we did is we talked to that woman in Omaha, and we said, we want to try to expand this program. She said, fine, I have my own way of doing it. And she had lessons, and we took a couple lovely young ladies up there, and we paid their way to get her particular training of how she teaches kids as early as 6 months old to get in a back float position. And then, we were borrowing hotel pools. We were asking sports clubs, any place we could get water, hotel pools, you name it. We had a couple of hotel operators that said, yeah, there are certain days that the pool's not even used. You can come in here and use it for this. And then, the demand just kept exploding, and we kept having different instructors, and there's so many people that want to get their kids into this. Then in 2020, we broke down and we said, we got to build a facility. First of all, we were tired of having 3 storage units and not being able to park in our garage because we had so many books. And we've now manufactured over 110 mascot suits. They're all over the United States, and there's even one in Australia.
Got it. That's awesome.
Yeah. I think we have 8 more.
Yeah, 8 more getting made right now in Ohio. They get made in Ohio. But so we opened a facility in 2020. Timing wasn't very good. They wouldn't even let us be in there, But that first year, we taught quite a few lessons. But now, in just a few short years we've been open, we're teaching about 900 lessons a month in that facility. And We have trained over 30 instructors all over the United States. We've trained instructors that have flown in from Alaska, and we've had instructors go out to Alaska and help them. We've trained some in Tennessee, Florida, Texas, New York, South Carolina. And so they come in and they learn the technique, and we send them back and we say, we don't want a fee for every child you teach. You teach as many instructors this skill as you can. Let's get as many children taught this technique as we possibly can. It's to us, this isn't a business. This is a nonprofit about saving lives. Mm-hmm. And so...
Well, that's completely amazing on how you just grew and can expand and help all these other families and kids and getting taught. Oh, incredible.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I know we are one of our really important partnerships. The last 2 years has been partnering with the Autism Family Network. For autistic children, it is the number one cause of death to them also, from all ages, because autistic children have a tendency to wander, and so they're attracted to the water, and so they don't understand when they go in when it's to a danger point. And so there was this young man that was rescued twice from strangers, and then Kathy Martinez, who is a friend of mine, reached out and said, "What can we do?" And I said, "Let's get them in with our aquatics director." And so we teach and scholarship families with disabilities, not just autistic people, but on the spectrum, but all disability that can come in there and teach this important lessons. It's a longer lesson for them because their sensories and attention span's a little different, and so we need to adjust for that. But it's been highly successful. This young man can now float on his back. He now goes into the water and understands what a danger level is. So
we've had parents that say that some of their nonverbal children have become verbal. There's something about the water, and maybe it's the pressure, like a weighted blanket that attracts them, or it's visual. I'm not sure what it is, but it's therapeutic. And so here you're trying to keep them away from it because it's a danger to them. But if you get them in a situation where it's good for them and it's therapeutic, all of a sudden we're finding something that's actually a total benefit for this child to be in that environment, as long as you do it safely, right? So that's been a huge, and we sent our two main instructors to New York to take from a gentleman that's from Nebraska that's in New York that works with all special needs children's in the water, and we brought two women up from Florida that specialize. One of them is specializes with autistic children and cerebral palsy children. She came up and she worked with our instructors. We're talking about even trying to bring all these different instructors together just to do a thinking session and a working session. What do you do? Well, here's what I do. Well, does this work? Yes, this works better than that, to make people better at it and to get the communication out. That's the beauty of when you're running something that's for good and not just for the bottom dollar. You do whatever you can to make it better. And so that's what our goal is. And we're looking at dates, maybe even to bring a bunch of the instructors to our facility from all over the country and say, collaborate. Just get here and collaborate and make it better.
It's hard to know sometimes how many children's lives we've saved, but we see it from the numbers of drownings that go down. So Nebraska hasn't had, in Lancaster County, the first fatal drowning we had was that 16-year-old boy that was swimming in a non-swimming lake. So we haven't had the numbers. When Joshua passed away, we had 9 children died that same year, and then 8 the year after that. And so now it's actually in the curriculum for Lincoln Public Schools. And so every child gets Josh the Otter book, and then also learns about water safety through the physical education side for all first graders in the state in Lancaster County. So we'd love to see that expand to other cities in Nebraska. We've had it done in other states outside of Nebraska, but I'm just going to say just this one quote here from a Rotary Club that we work with in Boca Raton. Said, Children drown every day in Florida. Children have easy access to ocean right outside their front door. Our club dedicated their actions to prevent drowning several years ago. We introduced Josh the Otter program into preschool, kindergarten, and classrooms in our local communities. Since we started this initiative, there has not been one drowning incident in the school where we've introduced Josh the Otter. This program makes a difference and saves lives. That just makes me cry
that
anyway.
just proves it right there, you know. And,
I'm getting teared up just thinking how happy and awesome that is that you to installed that in so many schools to help prevent like very sad situations. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you guys are not just stopping. You guys didn't just say, we did a book, we're good. You just keep going.
It's not us as much as it's pulling us. We really don't have a choice. I've looked at her multiple times and said, what the hell did we do? We created a monster.
Yes.
But we did. And so there's anher book coming out.
Okay.
So we're going to have another
There you
book
go.
coming out.
First time on the air.
Yeah,
Oh,
first time
breaking
in the
news.
house, yeah.
That's
Breaking
awesome.
news.
It's Josh the Otter meets Coco the Raccoon. And it's a story about a young raccoon that wanders away from mom and dad down to the stream to wash some berries. And Josh, Alex, and Austin see her by the water, and they go up and help her because she almost falls in. And then mom and dad show up, and it becomes a discussion of you don't leave mom and dad. If you can't see them, they can't see you, which applies to grocery stores, shopping malls, parks, water areas, you name it. And then has the component of you're around the water by yourself, and you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
So
and the people coming to help.
Yes.
So,
Exactly.
okay.
Josh gets a little older, and he becomes not just the student, but the teacher.
Okay.
that's a process.
We are okay. That's awesome.
But we couldn't do it without the collaborations and the community involvement that we have, not only just locally, but nationally. And it's so important. You know, Lincoln's been such a great supporter of what we do and how we move forward and continue to be able to save lives just, you know, with the support of them. So our partnerships continue to grow, and we look forward to having that on board with us because we can't do it. This is, like I said, neither one of us are paid employees of the. We have one full-time person in our staff, and so it's just really three of us, and everybody else is partnerships, collaborations, and volunteers.
Our instructors are contract instructors. They get paid per lesson. We have 7 of them. They're all fantastic, but they get paid when they're there teaching lessons, and they love it. They get to work around their schedule.
And where's the facility at?
Basically 13th and Yankee Hill Road.
Okay.
Yeah. And, you know, their demands there, we could open another one up here on the north side of Lincoln. We've had conversations with Omaha. There's a young lady up there that lost her son. We just saw her 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. She says, I have land. I want to build a Float for Life facility here in Omaha. And so we'll probably start having those conversations. We'll just help her do it. I don't want to run that. Like I said, we're busy. We're very
this
very
is
busy.
your
Yeah, it's
your
our
life.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we've got 2 big events. Our biggest fundraisers are coming up. The golf tournament, which is September 30th, which I can officially say it is a sold-out golf tournament. We do have, obviously, flag prizes and sponsorships, T-Box sponsors available, an auction. We have an online auction for people that want to donate anything that
Or buy items.
or actually, yeah. So, and then our other event is our Dancing Within the Star City event.
I saw that.
Yes.
Wait.
So,
Can you tell me about that event?
so we have 8 local celebrity couples, and they pair up. They do something similar in Omaha, but they actually pair up with a professional dancer. These are couples, husband's wife, boyfriend's girlfriend. It doesn't matter to me. And nobody so far has gotten divorced, or there's no murders in the building, part 4. But it's a really great event. Last year, Carol Hoiberg and Fred danced in it. This year we've got some really great people dancing in it. Jeremiah Searles and Emma, Tim McEwen and Danny McEwen, Erica Howman and her husband. So just Ryan Richardson. Ms. Lissa Langer and Chris. So all these great people and local here come in. They learn a dance, and then they go out and hopefully people come in and support them by coming to the event, and that is November 9th. There's
Where's
no
that
football.
Yeah. Good timing then.
It's not a football Saturday, but it is a basketball
It's
day.
at the Scottish Rite Center on 17th and what is that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
Yes. So
It's down in the basement. It's a great facility.
So, okay, you do the golf tournament. You do the dancing thing. What else are you doing, which is a lot of things, but like tell us more about all the other things you do,
Well,
if that makes sense.
Here's something that
Because I see you guys everywhere. So
what
that's
we're really proud of is the license plates. So if you've seen the Josh the Otter badge on a license plate here in Nebraska, and I think it's the only water safety cause vanity plate in the country. Unless someone can email me and let me know that there's one in their state, I'd be surprised to hear that. But Senator Suzanne Geist actually brought it up to the transportation and brought that forward. And of all the cause plates you see out there, you see the cougar, the elephant, the different ones, they don't go directly to that cause. They usually just go back to the DMV. It's great for awareness, right? If you see the pink ribbon, you know what it's for, right? And it's great for awareness and cause. This money, and it's only $5 if you want to get a Josh the Otter plate.
or 40 if you get
Or
a
40
vanity.
if you get a text,
vanity.
That's really cheap.
message. But it goes to Nebraska Game and Parks, and then Nebraska Game and Parks distributes it back to us. And what we're doing with that
100% of
money,
it goes back to the foundation.
we're building life jacket loaner stations. So the life jacket loaner stations is something that we've done, and we've done that in conjunction with our local Rotary Club that Kathy and I started a few years ago, and also Lincoln East Rotary Club. And we go out. We have 4 at Pawnee, or we have 3 at Pawnee, 4 at Branched Oak, 1 at Conestoga, and we're going to start putting them up as far out reaching as we can. But you walk up to a beach or a boat dock, and the station sitting there with life jackets in it has a signage on it. Hey, if you need a life jacket, here's one you can use. Once you get done with it, please put it back. And the first time we did it, the park rangers got, this isn't going to work. They're going to be empty. First couple weekends are just going to be empty. It didn't happen. Not only that, people are donating them. Our kids can't fit in this one anymore. Let's donate it to this box. Or we had Coleman call us up and say, we have 100 we want to bring you. She went in and saw some on sale at Walmart. So she bought, and she had a whole shopping cart full of life jackets. And the lady goes, what are you doing with it? So she told her, and she goes, here's $20 for the cause.
Oh, wow.
And then a Walmart manager came up to her one other time and said, what'd she give you, $100 off? Or
Yeah,
she gave you a $100 gift card.
So-
So people really buy
Or
into it.
local, just
And-
local Walmarts and Shields have been very supportive.
Well, yeah, if
with
you see
that,
somebody
so-
with a cart full of
Yeah.
life, you're going to be, okay.
That's going to be an
What are you
awesome
doing?
Something
party.
is happening. Yeah.
Right.
Something's going to
Yeah.
be happening.
Yeah, is this a
you wanna
fraternity
know.
thing or sorority
yeah.
thing you're going to
Yeah.
be doing next week?
Yeah.
So we're the Nebraska Game and Parks hopes to get these all over the state. We're trying to get the Boy Scouts in Nebraska to kind of pick up and help us. Like you adopt a road, you could adopt a station.
Oh.
So you'd go check on it every
Genius.
week or every other week.
Yeah.
And all you got to do is, if it's empty.
Until then, you just have to do it.
Right now, our club,
Volunteers.
we volunteer, we rotate
We
out.
voluntold people.
Yeah, and then
Like,
if
I like that.
if one clips are broken or something, you take it out and you make sure everything's clean and they're proper and there's no wasp nests in there and stuff. But it doesn't take a lot of work, but it's been very well received. And we've lost too many, sadly, when we were talking about children from other countries and things like that don't have that skill set. But you go into the lake and you think you're wading waist deep, and you go 2 feet farther and you go down in a hole in a lake. And lake water is not forgiving. I mean, you can't see very far down in lake water. So if you can't swim, you should be wearing a life jacket. So we have those out there. And after about a month or two, one of the park rangers said, I can't believe it. This thing's just fantastic. He goes, I sit in my truck and I watch somebody pull up in their boat and they start counting heads and they start looking around. They come over to the station and they bring over a toddler and they fit them properly with a jacket and they put them up. And he goes, and then I see him later come back and putting it back. And he goes, I'm just amazed by how well it works and the difference.
Faith in humanity restored.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
Yeah, and
Now, the ones on the beaches walk away a little bit more, but hey, if you need a life jacket that bad,
Then
and we're getting them donated,
That's a
fine by
life-saving.
me.
You guys don't care if they walk away because they were being used. Yeah.
Right.
That's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
And then we also stencil our name on the back, so if they want to walk around advertise.
Nice, nice.
Yeah. Okay, so now what? Okay, we have a new book coming out.
Yeah.
What goes next? Like, just
I think what
keep
we
going?
really need to do is we need to get the industry, and the industry is the pool and hot tub manufacturers. If we're really going to cover the whole country and get this saturated, the thought process and the talk about it, they need to step out of the dollar making side of this and more of the cause side of it. They're afraid if someone comes up and says, I want to build a pool, and they say, well, the number one cause of death to children 1 to 4 is drowning, they're going to go,
We're not
never
selling
mind.
a pool.
Yeah.
Bad sales pitch.
Yeah, I'll
Right.
wait till my
Yeah.
kids grow up, And I said, well, once they've signed the contract and you've dug the hole, they're pretty committed. Before you open it, top off the water and put the chemicals in, why don't you have a conversation with them? Hey, you're a great customer. Thank you. And I want you guys to really enjoy this. I don't want it to be a bad experience for you. Here's some information on water safety. And so if we ever find the time, we need to start going to some of the national or regional hot tub and pool shows and say, we're not here to scare your customers. We're here so they love you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right,
It's
because
not.
it needs to be a
if
fun.
it's presented
fun-
right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Our whole thought process after Joshua passed away, it was like, we're filling that pool in. I never want to be, and that's not realistic. It wasn't the pool. It was our lack of knowledge. We didn't have the education needed for us to keep our son safe. And so, on Wilderness Ridge, there's 18 water features. We were more worried about the pond and all the water features on the golf course. And
Yeah, you have
we
frogs, dragonflies. Kids are attracted to that.
We didn't
yeah,
think
just
that the
chase
pool
it,
was
yeah.
going to be what, and we had no knowledge that it happened so fast. We had no knowledge of this. It takes less than 30 seconds. I literally went upstairs, cut a hot dog up, microwaved it. That's how long it took for Joshua to drown. That's not that long. And it was just like, how do we not know this? It's crazy. So as a society, we need to do better. It's a scary subject, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be presented in a way that it's a scare tactic. It just needs to be, I do remember don't do drugs and that fried egg thing. That did stick in my head. That commercial did stick in my
This
head.
is your brain, yeah.
That is your brain, not drugs. But it apparently worked for me. But that's not what we want to. We don't want to scare our children, and that's who's, because it is a fun activity, and we want everybody to be safe in and around it. I know there's a lot of distractions, so there's a lot of ways through the water watchers, making sure that kids aren't in a swimsuit that's blue because the bottom of the pool is blue, or black because the stripes on the pool are black in public and swimming pools. So there's education out there that needs to be more widespread. Put them in bright colored swimsuits, making sure that
I got a hot pink Speedo that I wear. So
We're not you, Joe.
Is it how big is that though?
It's sport.
You don't wanna
It's
know.
sport mix. Puddle jumpers. There's a lot of controversies on puddle jumpers, and that is it is a lifeguard or Coast Guard approved life jacket. But in the swim industry, it keeps them in an upright position. So they think that they're kind of sitting in water in this upright position. So they never get to that back float position. So it's really hard for kids once you take them out of that, they just go into this position. And that position is a drowning position.
There's a lot of parents that have lost children that actually think they had their child in a puddle jumper and they took them off to maybe get something to eat, and then they lost sight of their child and their child went right to the water, and they think, well, I think my child just kind of felt like they were going to float because that's what they had on a few minutes before that. Mm-hmm. Obviously don't know what a child's thinking in that moment, but there's concern that it's parents rely on them too much. Those puddle jumpers, they work so good, I can just do whatever I need to do, and the kid can just float out in the water all day. And that's never the situation you should be in. You really should always. Even if you have them in a good life jacket, you should be around them and with them. And
Right.
if you're around them with them, you should be teaching them to swim without it. I mean, that should be your goal. That should be your end goal. Everybody should learn to swim, period. It's the only sport we do as human beings that can save your life.
You're 88%
You think about it.
less
Yeah.
likely to drown if you learn how to swim.
Yeah, 88% less likely to drown if you've had formal swimming lessons. So everybody, I mean, we could solve the problem right there, but we don't have enough pool and enough instructor.
It's
enough
100%.
water.
Drowning is 100% preventable. 100% preventable.
Yep.
So, like, even Michael Phelps doesn't swim by himself.
Well, he probably does at home. He doesn't tell
Well,
me.
he doesn't, like, when he's in the Olympic,
Training pool.
Training
They won't
pool.
let him train by himself.
because, you know, the fall factor, you hit your head or something like that.
The stroke.
So,
Got it. Yeah.
So that, I mean, it's so necessary. One other thing that I think would be absolutely great is if you do have a body of water in your home, please put a Ring camera on it.
Yeah.
Please put some type of camera that you get an alert. If that was in place, and when we lost Joshua, we would know it. Now I know when my dogs are in the backyard. I know if kids are around our pool fence, we can see them.
Yeah, they didn't have, Ring wasn't around then, and now it's set up to, and any of your Ring cameras, you can set a different alert tone. So the one that's in the pool, backyard pool area, gives me a sonar alert. The front door is a different one. So I know if a FedEx or UPS delivery's coming, I don't need to go run over there and get it. But if I hear that sonar alert, and I know nobody's in the backyard, something's going on back there.
FedEx and UPS guy are taking a
Yeah.
Taking a dip.
Right? Yeah, our lawn guys are
Right after
in
the
their
front door, then the sonar goes off. Yeah.
Right. So
But yeah, I definitely recommend. There's some cool technology that's coming out that should make a big difference. There's absolutely no reason why we shouldn't be educating our kids physically and mentally, no matter what we have for technology. You know, there's not enough layers of protection.
no.
Actually,
we would love to have Josh the Otter to be the face of water safety, like Smokey the Bear is to fire safety.
Yeah.
So
you know,
pretty sure we have the most mascots out there. I don't know.
I mean that's kind of the dream, is that once we're long gone, everybody just they see Josh the Otter and you just immediately go, okay, that's water safety. What am I supposed to do? You see Smokey the Bear, even if you're not even going out to camp, you know what it means, right? I mean, everybody does. So that's, if we can get to that point, we've made a real generational change in just the way people behave and think about it. That would be great. We have a Rotary, a young lady in a Rotary that's trying to make this a Rotary International Action Group. And she has 2 clubs in India that are translating it in her Hindu. And if we can make it a Rotary Action Group, then the potential for a Rotarian or anybody in the world can join that group. And we'll have giant Zoom meetings and start trying to get the book in different countries all over. And Rotary has global grant initiatives where they'll match $30,000 of grant money if you get a program going in their area.
We like the Rotary.
Yeah.
They've
been very good.
They're awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm not gonna short sell Kiwanis. Kiwanis is great.
We
And
love
Kiwanis too, yes.
And Sertoma and Lions
Sertoma,
Clubs and
yeah.
any aquatic industries. We
Oh.
work closely with children's hospitals. We had a very exciting thing this year happen with our Float for Life video, went viral.
Oh yeah,
We had
50 million views.
Oh.
With one of our Float for Life
Oh,
clips. Yeah, over
Yeah.
50 now. I don't even know what it is right now. but-
Blake was trying to keep up with all the
I was trying to like everybody. What was wild was all the different countries, and so you'd hit the translate button, and they were sharing it with friends, and they're saying we need to get such and such to do this, and such should learn how to do this, and it was from Arabic to Chinese to Russian to German, and then we would get people, how can I get this book in Germany? How can I get this book in Russia? And we said, well, we have a free app, and it does have translated versions, so that was amazing. 50 million views.
That is insane.
yeah.
But yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
It was fun. It was crazy. Your phones were going off crazy. I was like, Float for Life, Float for Life, Float for Life.
But that's got to make you feel good. You know, you're getting the message out. You guys are succeeding immensely. Like, I think it's awesome.
Thank you.
He works me hard from heaven.
Yes, I believe that.
Yeah,
But-
both of our children are adopted, and they were both gifts to us, and Josh was just a gift to the world.
And I do think of Josh the Otter like Smokey the Bear. I think a lot of people in Lincoln do. So now it's just slowly going the rest of the way.
Yep.
So how do people find you? How do they donate if they want to volunteer?
JoshTheOtter.org or Josh the Otter anywhere. That's the beauty of it. You type in Josh the Otter on Google, that's it. I mean, you're going to hit it. So it's been popular enough. And we do have a donate button on our website, and we have a
And on
donate button
Facebook.
on our Facebook page as well. We do love to have volunteers if you like helping out kids' readings. We can't even keep up with the demand that we get sometimes for those. We are, what is the volunteer? Ooh, I should know it, but we just partnered up with a volunteer organization that has a website, and you can get on there, and they interview, they basically prerequisite the volunteers, and then they funnel through to us, and then we post events and things on there. We're very fortunate. We have we've had such wonderful volunteers over the last 16 years that our golf tournament we really don't need anymore. We've been so fortunate, and even our benefit in November, we have more volunteers than we need. But the daily stuff that's out there, reading to kids, we'll get requests, hey, can you come to this kids fair? And there'll be 200-300 kids there. We did the airport drive-in movie, and they did Finding Nemo. You know, there was a time we needed some help out there, stuff like that. So we do have.
We do have safety fairs and events and stuff like that we're requested to be at, and
And if you really want to do a good sweat program, you can get in a suit, the Josh the Otter suit.
Yeah.
guaranteed.
I don't know. I just picture, how many suits was it again?
We've had over 100. We're going to have
I feel like if you could get them all together.
I know. And do a raft,
Do a
of
raft,
otters.
Yes, there you
raft
go.
of otters. Yes.
Yeah,
We had
that
a
would
ro-
be awesome video, and we can do a drone.
Yep.
So if you can
Yeah,
get them
that
all,
might be
just come.
logistically tough. We had a Rotary district governor in Florida that had 4 of them together.
Yeah.
And he did a night, and he
Little
said we're going
parade.
to get them all together in one room, and they got 4 of them in that. That is on the Gulf Coast side. There's a lot of them in Florida.
Yeah, a lot of them. They end up purchasing them because they utilize the program so much. So, we do loan them out, and they just pay for the shipping and handling and cleaning of it. But otherwise, they're purchased.
I had a couple different Rotarians that say we have them in the Christmas parade on our float, our Rotary float, and they'll say some of his kids are more excited to see Josh than Santa. And that probably the older kids that don't really believe in Santa anymore, but they believe in Josh. So that's cool. That's really cool. So
It's awesome.
we really appreciate you guys having us on.
Yeah,
No,
thank
the
you.
pleasure is ours. Thank you for sharing your story, and I wish you guys all the luck. And
Thank you.
I think it's just going to keep going.
We hope so.
Well, plus, you
Yeah.
guys work very hard, so.
Well, it's obvious that the demand's out there, the need's out there.
Yeah, well, who's going to argue with this?
Right.
That-
Yeah, I mean, everybody
it's a
wants
cause,
their child
everybody, especially
to
if you're a
save.
parent.
Grandparent.
Yes, like,
Caregivers,
Yeah.
daycares, all that,
yeah. I mean, if the story doesn't tug at your heartstring a little bit, we should probably.
I know. It's 16
Who,
years.
who doesn't want to watch a child laugh and giggle and enjoy something and then get a good positive message out of it, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
That's the other. They have a great time too.
good deal.
So
All right. Well, thanks everybody.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thanks.
thanks.